Welcome to a slightly chilly and misty Sabi Sands this morning. My name is Brent Smith, and I have my good friend VM on camera, and I think I have, what has been sleeping here? Hyenas have been sleeping here. Now you can see, there we go. Okay, so it's hyena. I thought it might be lions sleeping here, but hyena that have been sleeping, 2-3 of them. Okay, so there's a lot been happening overnight. There's leopard tracks around quarantine. We're seeing if they've come up onto Vulture access. There's lion tracks running through the center of the property, also heading in this area. And we're just going to do one last quick look up here to see if Shidulu has come back from, whoopsie, accelerator got stuck there, from Buffalo's Hook. So if we get nothing at this junction, I'm going to head back down towards Impala Plains, and it doesn't look like we've got anything here. Remember, you can send us questions by using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can just pop it on whichever feed you might be enjoying your very own private live safari. Okay, so of course I'm not the only one out and about on this beautiful, cool morning. Let's say good morning to Tristan to catch up with his plans.
Indeed, Brenty, it is a cool, crisp, clear morning. Almost feels like a change of season is in the air. Now, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got David. There we go. There's the thumbs up. And I was saying that it is a beautiful, clear, kind of cool morning, and that's because it's about 20 degrees, or I think 68, was that what Nikki said? 68, somewhere around there, Fahrenheit. So it's a very cool start to the morning. Lots of moisture in the air, and that's obviously because of the rains that we've had recently. And so it's kind of doesn't feel the same as it did a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, you would have woken up and it would have been damp, but it would have had that humidity feel. Whereas now it's got this kind of crisp feel, which generally is an indication that winter is on its way. Now, remember, this is an interactive experience, so I would love to hear from all of you. And thank you to those that have already contacted us regarding animals that have been heard on the dam cam. So it's always good when we get a little sort of heads up and a kind of head start. And so you can interact with us, for those of you that don't know, on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat. Now, our plans for the morning were to head to Chitwa, but we kind of bumped into a whole bunch of lion tracks and leopard tracks. The leopard tracks went further towards where Brent is, and the lion tracks seem to cut off a little bit. So we're just having a little scratch around, just trying to see maybe if we can find where these lions go. It doesn't look like it looks like 3 or 4 lines together. I can't work out if it's maybe these Avoca boys, because I haven't really tracked them very much, and so I'm not sure on the size of their feet just yet. But to me, it looked like adult females, but it could have, obviously, those boys are not fully grown just yet, so it might be a situation where there's males inside there. And I didn't really look very hard at all, because I thought maybe Brent might have the tracks, but he hasn't picked them up with those leopard tracks, so we might just have a little follow and see where those go. So that's the plan. Treehouse Dam is very quiet. We thought maybe we would just check Treehouse Dam quickly, but no sign of anything here. And so while we kind of try and get back onto those tracks, I'm going to send you across to Taylor McCurdy, who hopefully is not going to be getting ill and green around the gills as she sits with that dead elephant.
Craig and I strategically tested the wind before entering the sighting today, where the hyenas are having a feast. And luckily for us, there isn't much wind this morning, because otherwise it would be a completely different story, as you can imagine. Right. Hello, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig. And remember, this is a live and interactive safari, so if you do have any questions, well, I think most of you know how to get hold of us. But we'll go through it again, hashtag Safari Live, or you can also talk to us via the YouTube chat. Now, last night we came out on a little bumble to show everybody what was happening at the elephant carcass, but there wasn't much at all. We arrived to a scene of very flat hyenas in the grass, fast asleep, bellies swollen, as you can imagine, and only 1 or 2 hyenas sneaking on in, and then the odd jackal that actually seemed to be more interested in us than anything. So that was quite cool to see. but no serious action. But this clan of hyenas seem to be up now, getting a fright every now and then from all the vultures that have perched themselves in the marula tree above the elephant carcass, waiting for their chance to fill their crops. Very cool. It's a beautiful scene. It's very peaceful at the moment, because I know what can happen. I want to go. I want to come to the carcass, Dave, so don't worry about me. Getting sick is just the fact that I have a weak stomach. But like I said, I've positioned myself carefully. I've got my scarf wrapped around my face when I need to, and we'll be fine. I'm definitely not giving up on a sighting like this because I've got a weak stomach. Oh no, like I said, he won't even know that I got sick. It'll happen so quickly. So no one's forced me to do anything, don't you worry. Now, oh, there's one brave vulture that's landed on down. And there's a few questions about where have all the vultures gone. So, Becca, basically what they've done is they've basically just gone to go perch on trees elsewhere and in the surrounding areas. Look, they're quickly making their approach, but I'm pretty sure the hyenas will come in and chase them off. So they've all just gone to perch themselves. Oh no, here's the frenzy's about to begin. They are coming in. Oh my goodness, they're coming in from all sorts of directions. It is so cool. Can you hear their wings flapping? Isn't that amazing? Look at them. And crazy. Oh, this is my favorite part. My favorite thing about vultures is the Jurassic Park sounds that are made when they start scavenging over carcasses and start fighting. Have a little listen. And they're able to completely decimate a carcass, I promise you. After today, tomorrow, there's still going to be a lot of meat left because it's a big animal, but these vultures, it's incredible the amount of food that they can just gobble up. That's so cool. I'm just having a look. Brent said he saw some Cape vultures in here yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty cool because I haven't seen them for a very long time. I think there could be a few here now. I just want to have a look. They look so similar to the white-backed vultures. And this is really cool. Wait until we get the big leopard-faced vultures or the white-headed vultures coming in that are much larger. Now, this is a delicious feast if you are a predator of sorts. For those of you that have got a bit of a weak stomach, I suggest, well, maybe going to make a cup of tea or something in the meantime while we watch these vultures savage the elephant carcass. Remember, the elephant didn't die in vain. He died how he was supposed to die. He was challenged by a bigger, stronger elephant bull, and he just couldn't compete, unfortunately. And now this is the circle of life being completed. Vultures coming in to clean up the mess, so are the hyenas, jackals. And Sonny, you said that the lions are missing out on a good meal. The lion tracks come all the way up Weaver's Nest. I can't believe they didn't get a scent of this and come racing on in. Oh no, don't fly over me, don't fly over me, don't fly over me. There's a leopard, it's Hosana. Go chase them, boy, chase those vultures. Craig, this is why we came today. Oh, the hyenas are whooping too in the distance. Oh, he's going to be in trouble. Have a listen now, have a listen now. Oh, you better be careful, young man. very careful, because when that big clan of hyena come running back in, you're going to be put up into a tree. I think you see how he was searching up like that. I think he's already looking for the spot that if those hyenas do come charging in, where he's going to go. Oh, that was amazing. One vulture literally flew straight over the top of my head. I was so worried that it was going to, expel its bowels onto us, eh, Craig? That would have been disastrous. This is so epic. I'm so glad we got this. Here he comes. Let's see what he's going to do, where he's going to decide to feed. I think we're going to try and hold our position here, just because if we do go to the other side, the smell is just unbearable. And also I don't want to be ruining any shots for all the photographers that will be coming in. Here he is. He's just sneaking his head over the top near his ear, or near the elephant's ear. Come back around the side, big boy. Now, most of you can obviously see that the elephant still has its tusks. And normally, out here, they'll actually remove them. So I thought that they would have removed them almost instantaneously. However, oh, what's happening? I'm sorry, I'm just checking. There comes one hyena. He's got to watch his 6 o'clock now, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. And I'm not really sure when they're going to remove the ivory. Maybe they're going to wait until the animals finish feasting upon the carcass. I mean, they're not going to really want to eat the ivory. The only thing is that if those hyenas do manage to dislodge it, which wouldn't surprise me when they do start eating around the trunk, but they're probably going to eat some other spots first, so it might take a little while. There are all those nerves, like I was telling you. It almost looks like a big octopus tentacle of nerves they can pull right out of the cavity of those tusks. So they could be dragged around by the hyenas, but nobody really wants ivory out here except humans. So the animals, it's useless. There's no need. So we'll see when the Sabi and Vulture do come and collect it, or what the story will be. This is awesome though. Wow, what a cool interaction. Hosana's just standing in a very awkward spot at the moment. Like I said, we have got the best view to see if these animals go in the belly, and we're getting a nice golden light now. So it is going to be quite cool. Where are you going, boy? It's nice to see him again. Goodness, every single time I see him, he looks like he's grown an inch. He is a lovely cat. Got his black shoes on, from running around all the feces near the elephant. Oh, here comes a vulture. Watch how he watches it. And just flew off. Now, I'm not the only one tracking leopards this morning, or any of the big cats, or actually I'm just waiting for them to arrive. Brent was on male leopard tracks. Let's go see if it's Nkuhuma that's come back.
Well, we've done a big loop around to see if the tracks came this way, and unfortunately they haven't. But Tristan is on his way to a surprise kitty cat sighting. I wonder what that could be, but I'm going to keep looking for leopard. There are hyena tracks on every single road this morning, so we've got to look extra carefully when we're looking for tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to what looked like the last tracks of Nkuhuma and figure out which way he went from there. It doesn't look like he came to the western sections, so maybe he's doing a little extension of territory, moving further to the north, engulfing more of Tingana's historical territory. It's going to be very interesting to find out. Okay, so we're just going to keep running. So I'm going to go a bit quicker. I'm pretty sure there's no tracks coming out here. And there's no tracks of Shijulu coming back from the north. Maybe she's looking for a new boyfriend in Djuma. But possibly with Nkuhuma coming back, if she's looking to mate, they're going to probably, well, hopefully she pulls Djuma a little bit further to the south. I would love to see that leopard again. He is one of my favorites. But while we head off to the last tracks of Nkuhuma, let us go across to Tristan to see if he's going to give away what surprise he's on the way to.
Well, not just yet. He will be given away fairly shortly because we're not far from where we're supposed to be, but it is a good surprise, I can tell you all that. Now, amazing how we're having a good start this morning. Lots and lots of things in the pipeline. So good to see Hosana at that elephant. He must have been sitting right there because I just came from down that side and we were just doing a loop round from Treehouse coming back to our line tracks when we saw tracks for him going out of that area from the elephant carcass and then going back in again. So he obviously was just kind of moving around and probably just sitting in those thickets, and that's why Brent and I didn't find him yesterday afternoon. But anyway, there was a Slender Mongoose. But as is with Slender Mongoose, they generally run away. It ran in underneath this little bush. Now, that wasn't the surprise we were looking for, but a nice surprise for us anyway. Obviously, we didn't get really on camera, but it won't stick around, unfortunately. Slender Mongoose are not like that. They're not animals that are like the dwarf mongoose that will come out and check what you're doing. They generally are quite shy. There it is, actually, right there. So that's crazy. It's sitting right here. Now, I didn't think that this guy... Are you going to be curious? This has got to be the most relaxed Slender Mongoose that we've got, because I've never seen a Slender Mongoose sit like this, even when you kind of come up. They normally run away as quick as possible, but he's busy checking us out. I feel like he might be a descendant of Shadulu. Exactly. He might be related to Shadulu in some way. I don't know what it is with Jigger, that animals just have this infatuation where they stare at it like he is. I think we've caught him in the mid-toilet time, and maybe that's why he's... There we go. That's exactly what happened. We caught him. We caught him in mid-toilet time, and so he had no choice but to try and just get it out as quick as possible while washing us, which is ridiculous. Anyway, nice surprise nonetheless. That was quite funny, actually. I enjoyed that. But that poor Slender Mongoose must have just been sitting there like, come on, I just need to get it out before I can run away. Anyway, it's run off and gone into the bush like a normal Slender Mongoose would do. But how cool is that? Did you see how amazing they are? They're beautiful, kind of rich red color with that little black tip to the tail. Very, very cool. Anyway, we're going to keep going towards where I need to be and keep trying to get to a certain destination. And while we do that, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy and the goofy, beautiful Hosana.
Look around. He's moving off.
Now, unfortunately, it seems as though Taylor doesn't only have Hosana, but she has a few little technical glitches on board as well, and so hopefully we'll sort them out. I don't know what it is about that area, but Brent, myself, and Taylor all struggling to try and find some semblance of signal in those areas, so it's not ideal. Oh, but look at that. This is absolutely beautiful. Hold on, I'm going to stop a little further in front because there's the most epic view of mist and sun and just absolute beauty that you kind of have to see. So we're going to stop right there. How's that, Darby? Is that good? Excellent. So Darby's very happy with what we've got, but you can see the sun is just coming up. You're getting a few deep kind of blues starting. It seems as though we're going to have a absolutely incredible day, and then there's just this orange gold flush through the grasses and then into the mist line that is further away. And I was saying that it's starting to feel a bit more wintry. When you come up onto Zoe's road like this, and you look into the eastern side and you see these mist belts kind of hanging about, then generally you know that it's starting to change season. And this is something we see commonly in winter. When you come here and you look out into the valley, you'll see a lot of mist in the winter time. So very, very pretty at the moment and worth stopping just to admire a bit of sunrise. Also, it's pretty chilly this morning, so a little bit of warmth from the sun is absolutely perfect. But isn't that beautiful? I think it is very, very pretty. We've spoiled here in Africa. We get some incredible sunrises and sunsets, and today is just another one of those. And to think that there's all kinds of things happening under that calm, serene scenario is pretty insane. Very, very nice. Good. Let's carry on, Darby. Let's see if we can try and find what we're looking for. So, Tom, you say it looks hot. Well, Tom, I can assure you, given the fact that Dave is wearing gloves and, well, it looks like 2 jackets and a buff. So, Dave has got a buff, 2 jackets and gloves. I've got a jacket and another little jersey underneath. And so we'll have to, well, maybe I'll take a little photo of Dave and I just now. But it is pretty chilly. There's a little nip in the air this morning that is quite sort of, I don't know, it's kind of gives you a little bit of a chill as you drive around. It's not cold. It's not winter cold, but it's a little nippy. Now, I believe a lot of you are saying thank you for the sunrise. My absolute pleasure. It was a beautiful moment to enjoy. I would have liked to have actually been there as the sun came up, as that sort of red-orange color, and then watch it transition. But, you know, we were a bit late. We were preoccupied, unfortunately, with lion tracks. But it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm glad that a lot of you enjoyed it. It's always good just to stop and take a moment at sunrise and sunset. I find it's a good way just to kind of, I don't know, here in the bush, just listen and to hear and to pick up little things. It's often around those times that there is noise that is made by various animals or movement, and so it's a good way just to appreciate it. Plus, it's good for the soul to watch the sun rise. I don't know why, it just is. It's almost like it signals a new start to the day, and so you kind of enjoy that feeling when the sun comes up and it's that glorious sunshine and there's not a cloud in the sky. Very, very cool. So I quite enjoyed it myself too. Now, theoretically, I should be roughly where I need to be, I think. Well, there's some buffalo. That's not what I was looking for, though. But this is really, really interesting, because what I am looking for is really not very far from this at all. And I'm pretty sure most of you have guessed what I'm really looking for. But given that these guys are right here is interesting, because this is the herd I most probably had. Yes, this backlighting of this herd, there's gold grass, and then these dark kind of buffalo walking through it is very pretty indeed. Very nice. So, being spoilt a little bit this morning. We're having a bit of action all over the place. We've got Hosana chasing vultures and elephants, and we've got buffalo here, Brent on leopard tracks. We have had lion tracks, and our Tax is just talking to me now. Copy that. Thanks, Tax. I've got this herd of buffalo here where you can hear my vehicle. So Tax is just talking to me because he's in the area and is around as well. And so he's telling me that where he is with our surprise, which I'm pretty sure you all guessed already what it is the Nkuhuma Pride, is just on the other side of this buffalo. So we'll sit with these lions, because I think these lions are trailing these buffalo, and whether or not they're going to have a go at them, I'm not quite sure. But it's interesting. I want to actually try and see if we can get back towards the lion side of things, because also don't really feel like lions chasing buffalo straight at me. I'd rather be on the lion side of things. Much easier when you're on that side, because you don't get a stampeding mess going towards you, and you kind of have to try and get out the way. When buffalo stampede and get chased by lions, they really don't pay attention to where they're going. They just run, and that means that you unfortunately sometimes are in the way. But look at how beautiful that light is. Isn't that cool? Buffalo just walking through it. These poor buffalo at the moment, they're getting absolutely hammered. So while I try and get to where the Nkuhumas are and get on the other side of these buffalo, let's send you back across to Taylor, who's shaken off her gremlins and is still with our beautiful boy. See, the lions are right here.
The beautiful boy, the elephant? Yes. Hosana, however, has walked off a little while ago, and looks like he's going towards Treehouse Dam. I'm not going to follow Hosana. I'm going to stay at the elephant carcass and see what comes marching on through, because I've just heard go away birds alarming a little way away, but sort of a little bit more west from here, not quite in the direction that Hosana went. So I wonder who's arriving next. Oh, there's somebody else on their way to join this sighting. It's so cool though. The hyenas all came through again. I think the vultures are going to come down. Here we go. Here's one. Whee! A hooded vulture. I thought it was going to land on top of the carcass, but it isn't. They're all getting closer and closer. And again, it just takes one to come down, and then we're going to see them fly on in. It's the most amazing sighting. Very sad and tragic. But again, this is how nature... This is nature. This is what happens. I'm just watching this hyena because it seems like it's spotted something down in the distance. Lots of hyenas around. Lots of hyenas going towards Twin Dams. I also don't know what clan of hyenas this is, but there is a female in here that's collared. I'm very nervous. Oh, I can't believe that there aren't any lions here yet, with the smell, with the sounds, with everything. They're all taking their turn. And so yes, Anna Marie, the lions will take preference. Just like Hosana came charging in and chased everybody off, the lions will do exactly that, except they're not going to be too worried about the hyenas. I suppose that also depends on how many hyenas actually come here. There's a big clan of them. And I'm pretty sure it's all one clan, because there hasn't been any squabbling at all around the Carcass. Just typical sort of high-ranking versus low-ranking hyenas. A little bit of nonsense, but no sort of clan wars. No hyenas that shouldn't be here. Oh wow, that sound of the vultures coming in is so epic. See what they're doing? They're doing exactly what they did last time. All coming into this marula above the elephant. And then dropping straight down as soon as there's a gap. Test the wind again, Craig, just to make sure. You know, we're lucky we're upwind of this carcass. I don't want any flies sitting on me today either. I should have brought bug spray with. Should have brought the bug spray, Craig, hey? We didn't think of that. I actually sprayed myself before I went out. I always do. There we go. First vulture down to the ground. A hooded vulture. You can't see it. It's just standing to the right. Who's going to be brave enough? Oh, who's coming running in? Is this Hosana? Hosana's coming in again, I think, to the right. I think it's him. I just saw somebody slinking through the grass. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there he is. One of the vultures just broke a branch and it almost whacked a hyena on the head. I don't think the hyenas really know what's coming in just yet. They just saw the vultures panic, and hyenas are nervous by nature. Especially if they are low-ranking young hyenas. Look at him. See how he's now trying to conceal himself in the grass. Just hiding. Cool. Nikki, just so you know, I don't think there's going to be like massive action here at the moment. So, just so you know, maybe we can do like a short little intro or something like that. Because he's very far away from the action. Cool. We're watching hyena. Everybody's moved off from the carcass now. I mean, the hyenas aren't bursting at the seam, but I think they know that they don't need to, you know, push it to the limits. As this elephant carcass is going to be here for a while. You can see how there he is. Just hiding away. No one's talking though out here. Just the birds. Just the birds waking up all chipper. It's kind of weird sitting here in a scene like this. With an elephant carcass, a leopard in the distance, hyenas laying about. And then hearing the beautiful dawn chorus. It's eerie. It's weird. Okay, well, we're definitely not going to go anywhere, and we'll see if Hosana comes on back around, but it seems like Tristan has managed to find our favorite pride of lions.
We have indeed. So these lions at the moment are not too far from where the buffalo are, but I don't see the whole pride. I only see at this stage 5 individuals. I can't see where the rest are. So we've got the oldest lioness that is busy standing up. over there and kind of licking her chops and just sort of moving off slightly and maybe going to lie down. And then we've got a couple of the other lionesses lying down. Now, the buffalo, in terms of where I was just now, are no more than, I would say, 50 meters from where we are. But the lionesses don't seem to be too interested at this stage. It's not to say that they won't. Maybe they're just waiting for those buffalo to come a little bit closer. Also, who knows how long this has been going on for, of these lions kind of with the buffalo and going back and forth. Now, this female here, you can see she's sporting a little bit of a new wound on her face. I'm going to try... Darby, let me just track it forward a bit for you because you can be much easier with the grass. And I just want to try and see. She's got what seems like a little gash underneath her eye. Now, I wonder if maybe, just maybe, she was one of the ones that had a bit of a run-in with the Avokas that night when we had all of that noise and chaos that was going on. I wonder if maybe she wasn't one that tried to stand her ground and just try to buy some time for the sub-adults to go away. You can see a little gash. Now, that's nothing to worry about. She's going to be okay from that. It's just going to be a little bit, probably a bit sore for now, but she'll be perfectly fine in time. Otherwise, she looks pretty good. There's no other visible signs of scars or scratching. Everybody else in the Pride that I've seen so far looks pretty good. The only bad news is that I don't see the little cub at all. I haven't seen its tracks within the Pride. And as far as I understand it, I spoke to some of the guys yesterday, they have not seen that little cub at all in the last few days. So I suspect that maybe, just maybe, that little cub is no longer around with this Pride, which is very, very sad. I don't think we're going to have a situation where this Pride would walk around for 4 or 5 days without it going and joining. And if it isn't with them for that long, it's going to have a bit of a problem because it's going to starting to be dehydrated severely. And maybe that's why Mom has been walking around calling and trying to find her and the Pride kind of around this area. So we'll just have to see how it goes out, but it's never a good thing normally when you have lion fight and then a cub that is not with the Pride. It's generally can be bad news, and either that cub got separated and is lost, or a situation where it must have been caught, unfortunately, by those males. Now, Nikki in final control. I don't know if her mom is here. There's a whole bunch of them underneath a weeping wattle, and I can't actually see who is inside of this weeping wattle. Judging by the tracks, it should be the whole Pride. There's pretty much everybody's tracks were on the road at one point. So I only saw tracks at first of 3 of the females and 1 sub-adult, and then it seems as though later, when we had more tracks on Weaver's Nest, that we had a whole bunch of them, and it looked like even all the sub-adults were inside. So I think pretty much everybody should be here. It's going to be difficult to see. What I'm hoping is as these buffalo approach, so these lions come out a little bit, and we can actually get an idea of who is around and who is actually kind of here and with the Pride. And I'm hoping that we might get a little action with these buffalo, that these guys might decide to get up and start hunting them, and let's see how that goes. Anyway, we'll sit tight with the Nkuhumas for now and see what they get up to. While we do that, let's send you back across to Hosana and see if he's still playing tag with those vultures.
Nope. He's gone again. Sorry about that, everybody. Hosana is not here anymore. He's now walked back down towards Twin Dam, so we are left with an empty carcass. But now we wait for the vultures to come back down to realize that there's no one here. They're still sitting up in the tree. Most of them have actually flown away again from the tree above the elephant. And I think vultures are very clever creatures as well. Is that I think they know that if they all crowd around when there's a leopard around, there's quite easy the chance that he's going to race up the tree and then chase them all away, maybe catch one of them. I don't know what Hosana's doing. He's being like a bit of a busybody today. He comes through, he has a smell around the elephant, he looks at it, and then he walks away. It's like he's going to go and try and cause trouble with the hyenas. He's quite a naughty little boy, Hosana. But again, he's street smart. I think being basically left all on his own from such a young age has definitely done him a world of good. So I know it was very sad that Kruger disappeared, but I really think he's learned some valuable lessons, and I think he's going to have an upper hand on a lot of young leopards trying to make it in the wilderness. So let's hope that that is the case. It's pretty incredible that he has made it this far already. I mean, we've watched him eating terrapins and squirrels and dwarf mongoose to now catching I mean, well, not even just stalking buffalo. He's caught a buffalo calf before, eating all sorts of other things. Have you seen him, Craig? Is he still going towards the dam? He's just walking around. He's sort of sussing out. It is like he's following the hyenas around. He might be turning back. Maybe he's just checking the perimeters. I'm trying to see if I can see him. No, I won't be able to see him. I'm not really going to go following him right now, because I know he's going to come back. Definitely he's going to come back, and we're not sure who else is going to come and join us in the sighting. So off you go to Brent. It sounds like he's been doing a little bit of tracking.
Well, tracking we still are. So last tracks of Hukamuri head straight into the lodge behind our camp. Here we go. He's out here. So we're just trying to figure out where he was going to pop out, and his tracks have popped out right here. Viam's telling me this is the exact sort of route that Shidulu followed, so maybe Hukamuri is following Shidulu. Where's a nice clear one there? So he's popped out, he's come between our camp and then probably come down the edge of Gallagher. Or he could have actually just gone through camp. Leopards do that. And he's popped out here, so we've just been trying to find the tracks where they popped out. So they're heading almost due north at the moment. So I think probably going to have a quick walk. These tracks look very fresh. It's on top of Franklin tracks and stuff like that. And then if we have nothing here, I think we're going to check where Viam and Tristan had Shidulu's tracks come out. Was it yesterday morning? Yesterday morning. So we'll go have a look there, see if he is actually on her trail. Okay, so while we figure out what's going on here, let's go back to the lovely Nkuhumas.
Well, hopefully Brent will find the two of them together. Wouldn't that be something to have Shidulu and Hukamuri, the two newbies, in Djuma together, and maybe even might be mating? I was looking at Shidulu the other day, and I don't think she's pregnant. She doesn't seem to be, but you never know when a leopard is. If she's just got one little cub, she'll only really start to show quite late, but it didn't seem like there was any milk being produced or any sort of sagging of the belly. They get a bit of a different roundness to them when they have cubs. But our Nkuhuma Pride is still just sitting. They're not really interested in these buffalo yet. And the buffalo are not far. There's no ways that these lions haven't heard them or have seen these buffalo. That particular lioness is kind of standing and looking in that direction, so maybe she's going to take us towards them. I'm going to try and reposition ourselves a little bit to try and get a better view of what's going on, because we can't really see any of them now. Jeff, most certainly these lion prides have caught wind of the carcass, and this Nkuhuma Pride walked pretty much, I would say, maybe even 200 meters, 300 meters to the west of the carcass. Not very far at all. They were right there, so they must have smelt it. Maybe they kind of went and investigated and decided elephants not for them. I've seen lions in the Sabi sands countless times do this. Go past elephant carcasses, and really they just don't like, for some reason, are not interested in going and eating off the carcass itself. They get into a situation where they kind of will go and investigate, but they don't actually eat it in any way, which is strange to me, but that's how it goes. So I think these guys maybe were attracted by the smell and maybe by the commotion, but actually didn't feed off it itself. I'm surprised though. I would have thought they would have gone in and investigated. It doesn't seem like they actually went towards the elephant. Maybe the wind was blowing in a different direction and they actually didn't smell it, and it's just a bit of fate that they kind of missed it. Databait, they are now, as the crow flies, I would say maybe a kilometer, not even. Yeah, maybe a kilometer, 900 meters, somewhere around there. They not very far at all, so less than a mile away from that carcass. I suppose that today they might see a whole bunch of vultures dropping down into that area, and that might trigger them to start moving and start heading towards that elephant carcass. But I'm not sure. At this stage, I don't think so. It doesn't seem like they're too interested in anything. They're certainly not interested in hunting buffalo by the looks of things, because the buffalo has drifted off completely now. I can't see them anymore. They were not too far, but they seem to have carried on going in a sort of westerly direction, northwesterly direction. And the lions, as you can see, are very sleepy. Now, the reason that these guys are probably so sleepy is because they've walked so far. These guys were in Londolozi yesterday, so it gives you an idea of just how far lions can cover. I would love to know what route they took, if it was a direct route or if they zigzagged a little bit, but theoretically, these guys must have covered easily, I would say, 10 to 15 kilometers last night, which is a long way for pride of lions. We tend to find the coalitions walk a lot further than these guys do, and so it's a long sort of walk for the Nkuhuma Pride themselves, and that's maybe why everybody's a little on the tired side. So Dave, the Birmingham boys went the opposite way of the Nkuhumas. They went to Londolozi and disappeared very, very fast down in that direction. Apparently their tracks crossed into Londo's and into that area. And so I'm pretty sure that's why the Nkuhuma Pride went so far, is because maybe the Birminghams were down there. In terms of where they are this morning, I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard any updates yet from anybody, but I would imagine that we might have a situation where these guys are probably still down in that area. It's the Birminghams at the moment, I think, have got so many options and so many different things to go and investigate and explore that it's becoming harder and harder for them to kind of spend a lot of time in one place. And so, you've got a situation where they're now mating with the Torchwood Pride, which is in the extreme northeast of the Sabi Sands. You've then got the Nkuhuma Pride. We've got the Styx Pride that they've got to cover. They've got to cover Nsevu Pride. They've probably picked up the scent of the Salala Pride and are trying to go and dominate in there. So that's already 5 different prides of lions that they've got to look after. And that means that they're being stretched very thin at the moment. They're being pulled from the northern boundaries in Manyeleti all the way down to pretty much the southern Sabi Sands, because they are starting to even infiltrate down towards the southern pride. And so there's no one really standing up to them, and that's why they're just expanding more and more and more. And it's the reason why Mfumo hasn't been seen for so long. He's busy mating with countless different females down there, and so he's got an area where he's got females, he's got food, he's got water, and he doesn't need to come up here and patrol. You probably find this is a situation where he's kind of dominating those prides because he doesn't have competition from his brothers who are up this area trying to kind of protect all of these prides, and so that's maybe why he's sitting so much down at the bottom. What you might find with them is, as soon as the females down there have been mated with and have cubs, and those cubs start to grow a little bit, you might find the Birminghams then push back up this direction when all of these females in the form of the Nkuhumas and the Styx start coming into their estrus cycles again. Then you might find them coming back. The problem is, and this is what's happened to the Mpochos, the Majingalans, everybody else that's come, Matimbas that have come before them, is that they take such vast tracts of land that inevitably young males start to sneak in, like these Avaka males, and they start to just glean off little pieces of it. And it's because these guys are just so stretched, they can't actually kind of protect every single direction. And so I wouldn't be surprised that the Birminghams follow the exact same trait that the Majingalans and the Matimbas have followed before them, in that they came into this northern section, dominated, and then they've pushed straight south and west as they've followed all the new prides that they're starting to conquer. They kind of push into the western sector. And, the Majingalans at the moment are getting so old that they're not going to be able to really stand up to 4 younger male lions in the form of the Birminghams. And so, it's a situation where the Birminghams pretty much have free reign in the Sabi Sands. Within the next year, I would imagine, they'll start to kind of push further west, and they're going to then have anywhere they want, really, they can choose. And so that's the reason why they keep running off and disappearing from here, and then they kind of get pulled back here because of the prides that are up in this area. And so they're in a little bit of a phase where they're torn as to where they want to be. These Avaka males are going to be interesting because theoretically, what would be nice for us is if they kind of wedged themselves, if they somehow got around the Birminghams and wedged themselves between the Majingalans and the Birminghams, and that would have then hopefully kept a buffer from these Birminghams moving as far as they are. But I don't see it happening. I feel like the Avakas are going to be happy to be up in this area, and the ripple effect of that is going to be huge. We're already seeing the Nkuhumas going very far out of their territory down to Londolozi, and I believe this morning the Torchwood Pride has gone way south into Cheetah Plains on the border of Mala Mala, which is quite far for them too. So it's interesting how it's affecting them. Dale, you asking if the boys were on the dam cam last night. Don't know, as far as I have heard. They might have been, but I don't think so. I think I just think maybe might have been them roaring, but I don't think that was the Birmingham boys that we heard roaring, because the Avoca males yesterday were in Buffalo's Hook, and I heard them from the tent last night roaring, and it was them. It wasn't the Birmingham boys that were calling. So what interests me about this whole situation is that the Birmingham boys came in here, and they made a massive amount of noise, scent marked everywhere, and then went south again, and I thought maybe the Avocas had gone far, but the day that they went back south into Londolozi, the Avocas were found at Jacana Dam. Now, Jacana Dam is not far from the Buffalo's Djuma boundary, and so I don't know if the Birminghams maybe thought they had chased them, but they actually hadn't, and those Avocas were still standing and sitting up in that northern reaches. It's a very interesting kind of thing to kind of think about, because I don't know, it's going to be an interesting dynamic that's going to play out, and the Avocas then went yesterday, or not last night, the night before, and chased the Torchwood Pride and chased buffalo, and so they don't seem to be wanting to go anywhere, and that means that we're going to have an interesting kind of situation going forward. Our lions, though, are fast asleep. I'm going to try and position in a bit of a better way for Dave, and also so that I don't blind myself in the sun. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent, who is still bumbling about, and hopefully he's got an update as to where those tracks have headed.
Well, went for a little walk into these river systems here, and it looks like he's following the exact same trail as Shadulu. So what we're trying to do now is we're thinking ahead. We're going to jump across to where Shadulu actually crossed into Buffalo's Hook, rather than sticking track for track. And if there's no tracks of him crossing into Buffalo's Hook, we'll work backwards from there, if he is on that track. So basically, in this little river where I went walking, there's two paths. One path comes straight to Gallagher Shortcut, and the other one goes to the shortcut off Gallagher Shortcut. And he went on the right-hand path that Shadulu went on yesterday, towards the shortcut to Gallagher Shortcut. And it's possible he might come back onto the main Gallagher Shortcut, but we would see the tracks on this road. It's nice and easy. So there's the shortcut. So Shadulu walked through here, walked out into the boundary. Just always double check when we get to junctions like this. Make sure he hasn't popped out again. And he hasn't. So we're trying to, in case he is following Shadulu's exact route, we're trying to second guess him and jump up ahead of him and hope we get there before he crosses. Now, isn't this exciting? It's been a little bit quiet with cats over the last few days. Now we've got the Nkuhumas, Hosana, and hopefully we might have Hukamuri in not too long. If the tracks of Hukamuri do cross out into the north, I'm going to go have a dabble down in the east, see if there is any sign of Tundi coming back from Torchwood. And you never know, if Hukamuri was making noise along this northern boundary, it might attract the attentions of Djuma. Okay, I need to concentrate now, because this is where the tracks might come out, so I focus on the footprints. Let's send you back to Taylor McCurdy.
Hello again. Here he is. He's chasing a jackal. So like I said, I'm pretty sure that he's just playing games with all the animals. I mean, he's not starving. He's not too thin, but he's not too fat either. He's lean. It's like he's eaten just the right amount. So he's on the go, and he's chasing all the animals around. He's a naughty Hosana. Hey? He's a cheeky boy. I think he must know he's quite big. I think he's big for a 2-year-old there, but if he goes down into this Tamboti thicket, there's absolutely no ways we're going to follow him. And we're going to have to go back to the elephant carcass. And that's what he's about to do. Can you get him there, Craig? No, never mind. That vehicle's going to drive straight in front of him. Sorry, everybody. This is not really going to work well, and this is why I like to be in front. As you can imagine, otherwise everyone just drives straight through our gap. What a nightmare. Hey, Craig, hold on. We're going to have to do some maneuvers here. We want to win this sighting. Actually, I'm quicker. Shoop, shoop. Little nimble maneuvers compared to a long vehicle. Like I said, I want to try and get in front so we can actually have a view. I think he's gone into the drainage line now, which is a problem. Don't want to. No. Oh, there he is. Got him, Craig. He's just sat down for the moment. Here he is. And we've got no obstructions this time either. What you doing, boy? Is that elephant carcass too easy for you? Do you want something a bit more of a challenge? He's giving himself a bit of a clean. I'm sure he'll go back to the carcass again. Yes, and Tokyo, you are right. He is a character. He is hysterical. Him and Tumba, their personalities just shine through. And I think it's because we've been able to watch them from really, really young. And as they've got older and older, some of that sort of playfulness has definitely sort of stuck with Hosana. I haven't spent too much time with Tumba. The last time I saw him, he had that... No, I talk utter nonsense. I did. I had him after he killed the kudu on Chitwa when he was stalking that impala. But he seems to be a bit more on the serious side. I do find that Hosana is very playful. Very, very playful. Let's see if Tax has made her way in. Cross the termite mound. We won't be crossing. We don't drive over termites. I'm listening to the game drive radio. Sorry, Nikki, can you please say that again? I just quickly listened to the game drive radio. I just also want to be telling them that I don't want to... sorry, let me just do the... Taxi's not on a shadoodoo. He's just here off the edge of the drainage line. I won't be following this leopard if he crosses the drainage line. It's very, very thick and there's a lot of timber tea in here. Yeah, A-firm. I'm south of you. He's static at the moment. He's grooming himself. The visual this side is 5-5. There you go. I was just helping Taxing very quickly get into the sighting. I think he ended up going around the other end of... I'm just trying to figure out if he's on the other side of the drainage line or not. See, it's a tough one. This is where it gets tricky. Is you can see there is a lot of erosion on this drainage line already, so it's not a good idea to go driving and trying to cross something like this. It seems to be quite a sensitive area, so if he does go through it, we probably won't follow him. We'll go back and sit at the carcass. I don't think he's going to go for long though. I think he's just having a little wander about. I mean, he's been here for the last few days lurking around this elephant carcass, and I'm sure he'll have a snack when he needs to. I mean, like I said, there's food available for him. If he gets desperate, he can go back to it. However, I'm sure he'd prefer the chase. And, you know, we go back to yesterday's sighting of the mongoose with a hornbill. Not that the hornbill wanted to eat the mongoose, but it was like that little one was practicing. If an eagle or something were to swoop on down, or a jackal were to come past, and it just sort of played dead, and often that's more than enough of a deterrent, because the predators get excited by that chase. And maybe, you know, a meal already plated up is not Hosana's thing. Now, as you watch him groom himself, he's being quite meticulous about the way that he goes about this, as cats normally do. They take pride in their coats looking wonderful. Now, James Bond, looking, well, I suppose you just asked about his tongue, hey, and whether it's rough like a house cat, even more than your average house cat. Lots and lots of little barbs on there. Remember, when they are feasting on things like, well, when any predator eats, they normally get quite messy. And that blood can dry onto their coats. The mud and whatever else may be stuck to them. You know, you need a very, very rough tongue to try and get rid of all that ickiness. And if you have a smooth tongue, that's probably not going to work very well. So you'll see what they do to clean their faces, though. Watch him now. He might do it. Lick his paws, and then actually wipe his paws with that wet paw. It's nice to see him paying a bit of attention to his beautiful coat. Now, the sun is risen, which is quite nice. We started off with a dark morning, and Ronald, you've just asked, how is it daytime here? Is this in East Africa? It isn't actually in East Africa. We're in South Africa, so we're in the Central African time zone, and the time is currently 5 to 7 in the morning, Central African time. So we started our safari almost an hour ago at 6 a.m., so the day is going to get lighter and lighter as we carry on. It's going to be a very hot day today. I can feel it already. I can definitely feel it. Lick, lick, lick. Hosana, Banana, what are you going to go and do, my friend? Oh, you're getting up. That was nice. I should have asked you that question earlier. No, he's going to the other side so he can scratch. Having a bit of an itchy spot behind the ears on the face. We saw with Tingana the other afternoon that they do get lots and lots of ticks around their face, and it must be quite hard for them to take them off. So having a scratch using a claws would work very, very well. Hosana, are you going to go and stalk that car now? He's naughty. I love the way that he walks over to the sound of crashing trees. He's afraid of nothing. Maybe he's going to sleep in that wattle. He's walking right over to Taxon's vehicle now. That'll be nice for the guests. See, he's such a show-off. It's like, oh, you haven't seen me yet. Let me come right in front of your car so you can have a good view of me. I'm going to stop and pose and stare at you. That's nice for them. Hey, what an accommodating leopard, all giving us a chance to have a look at him. Right, off we go to Tristan, who's sitting with Nkuhumas. I wonder what they'll get up to next.
Well, at the moment, I think they are going to be very sleepy for the rest of the day. I think they've had a long, long evening of walking and moving, and who knows what else they were kind of up to last night. I have a feeling they also tried to chase these buffalo at some point and maybe just didn't go well, and that's why they now found themselves a little bit of shade and they're resting. Every now and then one pops up and moves a little bit, but for the most part, it seems as though everybody is seriously tired this morning. So I think they're going to just spend the day napping. The sun is starting to get up now, and I can tell you that it's got a bit of venom in it. It's going to be a warm, warm day when they do eventually, or when the sun does get up properly. It's still early in the morning, and it's starting to get much, much warmer. So if it's got this kind of heat at 7 o'clock in the morning and all the lions are searching for shade, then you know by sort of 12 o'clock it's going to be extremely warm. The thing is, though, is that at the moment I'm trying to work out exactly how many members of the Nkuhuma Pride we've got here. It's difficult because of the way that they're all lying is very obscured. You can't really see too much. But at the back, right on that side over there, there's the old lioness is lying there. You can't even actually see her, but she's lying in the grass over there. Then you've got one of the sub-adults that's standing up behind the tree. And then from there, I can count another 8 individuals. So I'm missing one, but I can't see under this wattle if there's another one there. So I can count 4 adult females that are here, but I can't see if there's a 5th adult female in amongst all of this, and I can't see which sub-adults or anything like that. So not very easy to tell exactly how many is here. Now, Tweety, I think Amber Eyes is here, but I can't tell you for sure. I haven't seen all of them putting up their heads. I know the eldest lioness is here. I know the lioness that is kind of in the middle is here. She's the one that's got these kind of very big lines down her face. And I think Amber Eyes is the one that is lying closest to where I am. So if I just lean back slightly, you'll see her. She's just right here, kind of moving about, and she's got her head up. So I'm hoping she'll look at me and I can just work out who exactly it is. Difficult to say because, like I said, they're all kind of obscured by vegetation. Although, is this think this might be the lioness we saw first. Yes, that's the lioness we saw first. Okay, so we've got her. Now, the lioness I haven't seen is the lioness with the one eye that is a little bit milky. So I haven't seen her, and I haven't seen Amber Eyes or the youngest female. I've seen all the sub-adults, but the rest I can't work out just yet. I'm pretty sure they're all here. I'm 99% sure that there's 11 of them kind of hidden about, and hopefully at some point they'll all stand up and kind of move somewhere, and we'll get something and be able to actually work out exactly who is here and who's not here. Now, I know at one point the youngest lioness was on her own for a while, and so I wonder if she's maybe somewhere in this general vicinity, or maybe she hasn't caught up with the pride yet. I'm not quite sure. The dude, in terms of eating of lion cubs, you would have pythons would eat lion cubs, hyenas, leopard, other lions. You might see very brazen wild dogs if they came across lion cubs on their own and no sign of a lioness, but generally not. So it's mainly those four that are very, very dangerous. Crocodiles actually are another thing that go after lion cubs. I've seen some crazy things on the Sabi River with lioness carrying cubs across a river. And as she was carrying the cub across the river, she was wading through, and this crocodile came out of nowhere and actually grabbed the cub out of the mother's mouth. So as she was carrying it, this crocodile came and it latched onto her head, and the cub was in her mouth. And because she was a bit wet, the crocodile kind of slipped and it grabbed onto the cub itself and just ripped it out of her mouth and went into the water, into the depths. And the mother just stood there absolutely bewildered by all of this. A few cuts on her face was a really very hectic thing to see. And the problem was that by the time she'd gotten to that point, she was about maybe 3/4 of the way across the river, and her other 3 cubs were still on the other side. And so she had to now go back again to try and go and sort out the other 3 cubs that were now trying to get into the water to swim after their mother. And this crocodile was obviously looming, and one cub is not a massive meal for a big crocodile, and particularly in that area you get some really big crocodiles. And so this poor kind of mother was so stressed, and she eventually got back across, and the crocodile actually came for her again, but she managed to swat it away with her paw. And then she managed to get back to her cubs, and from there she was able to kind of, settle everything down, and then they walked off. But it was a pretty intense, emotional kind of scene, and not something you want to see every day. So crocodiles are a huge threat to lions, particularly in river system areas. And yes, exactly. So Nikki was just talking about a crocodile going after a male lion close to a part called Lower Sabi in South Africa, in Kruger National Park, and that was also absolute madness. This poor male lion was swimming across the river, and this crocodile just came and smashed him from the side. So, lions have to be careful of crocodiles, and then, like I say, the rest of the other predators are pretty easy. Interestingly enough, though, with lion cubs, is that you also have a situation where birds of prey can be a bit of a danger. So things like martial eagle, crowned eagle, black eagle, those 3 are all big enough to take lion cubs. I haven't heard of any reports of them actually doing it, but I know that martial eagles have taken hyenas, cubs, and wild dog puppies, and so I wouldn't put it past them to go after something like a lion cub as well. It's in the right scale and range for them to be able to do it, and so it could very well be possible. Interestingly enough, all of these lions are busy feeding off grass at the moment. They literally are just grazing and trying to clean their digestive systems, and I've seen a lot of the different cats have been doing it lately. And Anna Marie and Starlight, they do it because it's a way to kind of clean out their digestive system. So they eat it, and it often can basically cause them to either get sick, and they then regurgitate any hair and bone, skin that they're battling to digest, and that means that they clean that stomach out and are able to then feed again and get in everything, and they're not going to have stuff just sitting inside there. So that's why they do it a lot. So you see domestic cats doing it as well, and so they eat off it. What they could also be doing on a morning like this morning, we were saying that it was quite a cold morning, and the reason that they could also be doing it is because the grass is covered in dew at the moment, and so instead of having to walk somewhere to go and drink water, they can actually just sort of put their mouths on the grass, and they can actually gain moisture from the grass itself. I know it sounds really odd, and you would think that it's a really tough way to find a lot of water, but you can be surprised at how much water these guys can get off just from dew and off grass and those kind of things. And there's actually a video that went around for a while of a lion that went up to a tent in the Kalahari Game Reserve. So in South Africa, we have a game reserve in the western side, in the arid parts, and inside that game reserve you can camp without fences, and the lions came to the tent, and where the dew had built up on the side of the tent, on the plastic part of the tent, the lions came and they were licking all the dew off of that tent. So it just goes to show that they can actually get water off of it or off grass, and so sometimes they actually don't eat the grass or snip it. They're just trying to pull the water droplets off that grass and try and basically drink from the grass itself. So it's two kind of reasons for it, and it's pretty effective. The problem is that every single one of our lions is now gone to sleep. There is not one that is standing up at the moment, and so I think it is that time of the day where they are already going into comatose state, and I don't blame them. Like I say, I think they've had a long evening, and so I'm not sure how much longer we'll sit with them. The buffalo are gone way away. Can't even hear the oxpeckers anymore or the grunts of the buffalo. And so while we kind of contemplate what our next move is going to be, let's send you back across to Brent, who hopefully is still on the trail of the beautiful Shadulu.
We are still on the trail, and these tracks are getting nicer and nicer. But I'm just making a double check again, guessing where he's going to go next. He didn't go north. He carried on, and he went across Aubrey's Road towards up the old hyena den, and I'm guessing that from there he's going to go. There's a pan inside here, and then often from there the male leopards will cross through to Sibambili. So we're just trying to make sure that we are ahead of him rather than behind him, because we are going to, there's a couple of big elephant paths that they try use. This little section here is a thoroughfare for big cats. Checking very carefully. So when you see me looking at the ground, really concentrating on making sure I don't miss tracks. No tracks coming out here, just some buffalo going that way. Now, we're going to discuss about survival rates. Katie, the survival rates of leopard and lion cubs are quite similar, except for the first year. Except after that first year, the leopard survival rate, where there is lions same for those the 3 years old and are able to breathe.
Oh my goodness, sorry about that everybody. Look at what we've got here. There's young Hosana across the drainage line, and I said to you why we won't be following him. We'll see. I'm sure he'll be back. I don't think he's going to be gone for too long. I think he's just having a little walk around, seeing who else he can terrorize. But the vultures have settled back on that carcass, not wasting a minute, getting in and absolutely devouring it. I can't believe how much they've already eaten just in the short space of time that we've been here. Go away, flies. Sorry, I'm going to cover myself now because I don't... Now I'm not worried about the smell. Now I'm worried about, I know where those flies have been. And it's terrible. But it is so cool to watch. And it looks like there's I think it's a low-ranking hyena that's actually moved in. Or perhaps even a male, which would make it a low-ranking hyena. And the fact that he's got a feed, or she, it's hard to tell from here, with the vultures. Shame. Can't even feed with its own kind. So whether it's even a part of the same clan we had earlier, they seem to have moved off. I wonder if they haven't just gone to lay in the water. Oh, there's another hyena that's just pitching up now. But very, very nervous. There we go. There's lots of hyenas now. 3 hyenas. They're all slowly starting to come back again. I'm just trying to sit comfortable, fighting over where to feed. Now, we've obviously got 2 different types of animals that feast on meat here. We've, of course, got the vultures, we've got the hyenas. Now, Christy, I don't know if you would get more than one predator. And I think in the sense that you're asking if you'd have a leopard and a lion and the hyenas all feeding on the same carcass. Now, I don't think that that would happen. They wouldn't tolerate one another that way. Listen to that sound. It is crazy. I love it when they fight. We joke and we say that the vultures are like tsotsis. So tsotsis in South Africa is like a really dodgy, bad person that lurks in the corners, dark corners of an alley. The way that they run, you actually have to ask Herbie about that, because the way he demonstrates about a vulture, the way it runs, the way it behaves, it is hysterical. You'll have you in stitches. Now, Nikki's asking if that's the tongue. It might be. A bit difficult to tell. It would be about right to be part of the tongue. I don't actually know what that is. If it's hard, if it's soft, I'm definitely not going to go over there and touch it. And that's sort of underneath the equivalent of our chin, I would imagine. And the coloration does look fairly tongue-like. Perhaps it's an elephant's tonsils. I don't know. Do elephants have tonsils? I haven't got a clue. But they are savaging this carcass. Look at them all fighting now. This is my base. Hey! Look at the Kung Fu Ninja. Ha ha! I'm going to get you. I love the way that one was also using his feet. That's a bully. Chasing everyone away. You cannot eat the entire elephant on your own. That is so epic. Now, for those of you that have never really seen vultures, you know, normally we see them perched up on a tree. Sometimes we see them feeding on a carcass. But to have a big elephant like this around is pretty amazing. Oh my goodness, watch me chasing out all the vultures too, so you can lay in there and eat it. That is disgusting. Look at that. Climbing, clambering around. All the undigested food and all the other internal organs that may still be in there. It really does, and this might sound a bit macabre, but every time those hyenas jump onto the elephant, it's like they're jumping onto a big couch. It really just reminds me of my dogs being naughty and jumping onto the couch and then, you know, quickly running out because they've been told off, they've been caught. This is a very special scene. You don't get to see it very, very often. Like I said, the last time I saw this was in 2015. Look at this. Oh, there's still so much food for these animals. So much food. And yes, they haven't started eating the entire carcass just yet. They're getting the favorable bits, the easy bits. So, Barb, they will start feasting on the legs, because you're quite right. There are lots and lots and lots of... There's lots and lots of meat. On those legs, around the neck, I mean, I can't tell you how many tons are still left here. But they're going to go for what's most easy available. So, at the moment, they would have started with that wound, the big tusk that gored into that poor elephant. They would have fed on the intestines. They would have fed around the rear end, which is another soft spot, the tongue, the eyes. Even, well, the manly bits too. That's what they'll start feeding on. Look at that. I mean, that's crazy. So So how strong does your immune system have to be? I'm just looking at that hyena and I can see a couple of scars and things on it. So I think it is one of the lower ranking hyenas. It does look a bit like it's been beaten up a bit, which they typically do. Hello. You must be Gwen's cousin. You remind me of Gwen. A little bit. Anyways, so the fact that they can go into a putrid carcass like that with cuts and come out and survive and, not get a bacterial infection is just incredible. It's amazing how these animals have evolved. Whereas if you and I had to go in there, if I had to go in there with all my cuts that I have, because I normally collect them due to bushwalk, I promise you, I'd be very sick. I'd probably have to go to the hospital with the infections that I would pick up from in there. This is incredible. Now, we use both terms, carcass and carrion, and in my opinion, there's no real difference at all. They basically mean the same thing. Carcass, something that's died, carrion, rotten meat. So Kendall, I don't think there is a difference. Perhaps maybe there is if you put it in the interweb and you ask what the difference is. I don't think there is. I'll even do it because I have signal here. Let's have a look. I don't think there is though. I think essentially they mean the same thing. See how those vultures were also using those necks to get underneath the skin. Now they're not going to be feeding on the hide of the elephant, they just want the flesh and the fat. No, I don't think there is a difference. Yeah, they're both basically decaying flesh of an animal, I suppose. So I think you're right in using either or. And it seems like there's mainly just whiteback vultures here. I'm trying to find the Cape vultures because I know Brent was saying, is that one on the... Have you found one? Oh, and there's a couple of hooded vultures up in the trees. At the moment, though, I can't see any Cape vultures here. They all look like whiteback to me. Again, they're fairly similar looking. So we'll keep an eye on. I'm waiting for the leopard face and the white-headed to come on through. That would be really cool to see as well. Just to see the size difference. Because they really are massive and they rule the roost at a carcass. I think the Cape has also got a light eye. I'm having a look at the eyes. Yeah. So they don't seem to have a dark eye like the whitebacks do. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Kind of like an eye, like the Ruppel's vulture that we were seeing while we were in Kenya. Listen to the sounds. People boxing one another. Hyenas trotting on in every now and then. This is so cool. I could just sit and listen to this audio all day long. Right, Tristan has left the Nkuhumas. He's on a drive now. I wonder where he's off to and what he'll find next.
Well, I left the Nkuhumas because I had an explosion of alarm calls from guinea fowl and franklins, and I got to the western side of quarantine, and I know Brent was following Hukamuri's tracks around here, and all the guinea fowls were up in the tree alarm calling. They've flown away now because I drove this section, and so I'm just scratching around. Maybe, you never know, Hukamuri might be sitting here, or Tamba, or somebody, I don't know. There might be a leopard, but generally when you see guinea fowls go up into a tree like that, all of them, and they're all going on and on and on, it could very well be a sign that there is a cat around that is causing a disturbance. Now, I've just heard another franklin here. And I know Hukamuri loves this area. So does Tumba, both of them. They walk up and down this drainage line and this thicket. It's a really good place for leopard to be. So it's a good area just to stop and listen a little bit. And there's definitely something that's disturbed these guinea fowl and these francolins. There's something that's causing a little ruckus in amongst everybody. And so it's worth us just driving around, checking, making sure that we kind of come up, or have a little look around in case there is something here. Let's just take this little 2-track again. Now, I came from the drainage line itself and kind of moved across it. I didn't follow it though, and if it's Hukamuri, well, he could be just walking like he normally does, which is just along the drainage, and he kind of just goes in and out, and he kind of backtracks and flirts with the drainage as he goes. So it's going to be interesting to see if there is anybody lurking here. The nice thing is this is a very big prominent path, and so if one of them is here, Tumba or Hukamuri or any of our cats, they often like to walk on this path because it's a little more open than the grass, and it's a lot more dew this morning, and so dew is not great for cats to walk in, and they don't like it. They kind of get their paws wet and then they kind of flick their paws off every now and then. It's quite funny to watch, but they then will try and use pathways a lot more. So I'm just slowly going on the pathways, just in areas where I thought I heard something, just to double check. I haven't seen any tracks yet, but I know Brent had tracks in this area, so it's worth checking. So Sam, leopards are solitary animals, and even when they're ready to mate, they'll just join for that mating period. They're not actually going to stay together as a pair. Well, after the mating situation, you'll find that they separate, and then the female, there's drongos that are chasing white crown helmet shrikes. Sorry, white crested helmet shrikes. I don't say white crowned, but there's just a drongo that was chasing them around for some reason. And so there's a lot of disturbance all over the place at the moment. A lot of birds that seem to be very upset with life. So maybe there's an owl here. But generally you find with birds like guinea fowls, they will not go into a tree for a bird of prey. They would rather be down on the ground for that and hide in amongst the thickets. They go into trees when it's something that is on the ground. So some sort of predator that's moving on the ground itself. I don't know. There's a beautiful crested barbet actually that's kind of sitting right out in the open for us. So on that dead tree there, Dave. A little bit to your left and up. There we go, that tree there. There we go. Should still be there. Is a little obscured. There we go. There it is. So there's our crested barbet, which is having a massive yawn. This isn't one of the brighter colored barbets I've seen. You do get some that are a lot more... What are you doing? Seems as though the animals have all gone a bit crazy this morning. I wonder if it's lost its voice. It's kind of opening its beak and there's nothing coming out, so... Do you think it's lost its voice? Maybe it's got a cold. Maybe it's that time of the year where it's got a cold. Or there's something stuck in its throat that is causing it to be very uncomfortable because it's kind of itching and using its feet to scratch around that area as well as opening its beak as though it wants to regurgitate. What is it doing? Birds are funny things. It seems as though something might be stuck in its throat. Because it's trying almost to try and kind of scratch at it. It's not a happy bird, I can tell you that much. It's having a tough time. Now I feel bad that I was joking about it losing its voice because it seems as though it's really struggling with whatever the situation is. But it definitely does not look comfortable at all, does it? And it's kind of trying every which way to get whatever it is in its throat out. I also think so, Steph. I think it might have a seed husk stuck in its throat. So Steph is in final control this morning and watching. And I agree, Steph, maybe a little husk has gotten stuck in there and it can't get it out. But interesting anyway. Right, let's carry on. Can't hear any more Franklin's alarm calling. It could be that whatever disturbed them just dropped into the drainage line and is kind of moving around in there. So I'm just going to slowly amble along this 2-track. It kind of hugs the drainage line most of the way, and if we hear anything or pick up any tracks, then we'll be good to go. But definitely something has disturbed everything in this area and made a lot of noise. I know the lions are lying just on the other side, so I don't think it's them because the lions aren't moving. They are sleeping. And actually, I found where they chased the buffalo. You could see where the buffalo were all lying down and then where they stampeded. So they obviously had a go at those buffalo early this morning, and that's why they're so sleepy, is they've lost that element of surprise. They've had probably a bit of a game where they've been chased back and forth. And so now it's time to have a bit of a rest. Difficult in here, very thick. So, Chris, South Africa, I think, did you say hawk population, Nikki? Yes, you did. So, yes, South Africa does have a hawk population. It's not going to be the exact same hawks as maybe that you see on your side of the world, but we do have hawks that we get here. We have varying types of hawks. Now, sorry, I'm busy kind of taking off my jacket as we go because it's gotten super hot all of a sudden, and I've got another jersey on underneath, so I don't really want to be kind of dehydrating myself while we're driving out here. But we do have hawks in South Africa, yes. They are maybe not quite the same thing that you would deem a hawk to be. We have, like I say, little bit different types, but we do have hawks in South Africa, various different types. We've got goshawks and various others. African hawk eagles, we've got, I'm just trying to think what other hawks we've got. Mostly goshawks is probably what we have more than anything else in terms of the hawk family. Now, oh, hang on, did I just see a track there? Let's just have a look quickly. Sometimes you've got to double check on these pathways. So there is a track, but not one that we are looking for. This is from the lions from last night. So those are tracks where the lions came through from Philemon's and then across the drainage to where the buffalo were. So that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little spotty track somewhere in this area. Now, I believe Brent, who's been off his vehicle this morning trying to track down these elusive spotty cats, is back on his car, and so I'm sure he's got an update for all of us.
Well, it's getting more and more interesting. We have Hukumuri's tracks and we have Shadulu's tracks going into the same block. Now, we're at the old Aubrey's hyena den, and Hukumuri's tracks came up here, so I'm just seeing that he's not sleeping on top of this old hyena den. It doesn't look like it. But Shadulu's tracks also headed straight into this area, but you can see how long the grass is. So we're hoping to hear something shortly. Now, Hukumuri is not as relaxed on foot as Shadulu, so I think what I'm going to do is go back to Shadulu's tracks, which are about as fresh, but they both come right into this area, and there's no tracks of either of them coming out. So we're getting there. I mean, we've covered an incredibly long distance, and see, there's Hukumuri's track there, coming straight into the hyena den. Let me just give Liam a chance to get there. You get there, Liam. There. Here we go. So Hukumuri's track's coming straight into this hyena den. Shadulu's track's coming straight towards it from the other side. But no tracks coming out. So I think we're going to do another loop around this block. And both sets of these tracks are extremely fresh. Now, I'll say we've been on Hukumuri's tracks for how many Ks do you reckon, Liam? 3, 4? Since Philemon's dip, so it's been on his tracks for a long time, I think. And we've looped around this block once already, and we are very certain that there are no tracks coming out. So if he's still moving, he might be heading through there. So what we're going to do now is do one more loop around the block. And if we have no luck, then I'm going to go take a little walk inside there. I'm hoping now that it's a bit warmer, that they might have calmed down. Who knows? We might be in for a bout of mating cats. But I haven't heard anything yet. And I was walking, we've switched off, we've listened. But in the meantime, let's go back to the action at the elephant carcass.
Well, vulture action is what we've got, so hopefully that's what you wanted. No more predators coming into the sighting. One hyena did vocalize at one point. And that was about it, but no response from any of the other hyenas. We're just having vulture battles at the moment, which are really entertaining to watch, in fact. It's quite hilarious between the white-backed vultures. You always get one or two really bossy ones that come through. Oh, there are actually some hyenas coming in now. I'm just looking, I can see them slinking through the grass. Look at them. They're just everywhere. Now, the reason why vultures come down and completely destroy carcasses is because they do only feed on flesh. And there was someone that was asking that. Canine. Okay, Greg, feel free to chime in. Canine nutritionist. There we are. You've asked just that. What do they eat? So they're just feasting on flesh. I have yet to see a vulture pick a maruda fruit and eat it, but you never know. But look at those beaks on the vultures. Oh my goodness. Big arguments going on there now. Look at that one with his wings open. See how he's trying to dominate over everyone? Watch. Look, it's even got feathers in its beak. Got that very, very hooked sort of tip. Very sharp. Mainly used for tearing at flesh, but it also helps pluck feathers out. Look at that, being very bossy on that carcass. I mean, there's plenty of food to go around, but everybody's fighting for the prime spots to feed on. I feel like every spot here is a prime spot, but what do I know? I'm not a vulture, hey? And I also don't feast off of elephant carcasses like these guys do. I just can't get over the sounds. It's honestly one of the most amazing things to see. I'm always taken back slightly. Here's a hyena coming in to stir a little bit of chaos. All the vultures, some of them are settling down there. Look at that. Come on, hyenas, chase them away. That's also really funny. I wish the jackals were here. The jackals chasing vultures is amazing. That is really awesome to see. And vultures do it too. And I think there's so much space for everybody to feed around here. I suppose that's when we're going to get a variety of predators. If the jackals come in, then you might see vultures, jackal, and hyena all feeding together. The southern ground hornbills could come through here too. I reckon if they get a whiff of this, maybe not right now, but the first time I ever saw southern ground hornbills in the Sabi sand, can you believe it, on my first game drive out with guests down at Sabi. The lions had killed a buffalo carcass, or had killed a buffalo, it was then a carcass, and once they devoured it, they moved off, and I went to go and have a look at the carcass with my guests, and there were 4 southern ground hornbills feasting upon it, picking at the remaining flesh. There were some carrion beetles as well that had started moving in. There were all sorts of things. There was some dung beetle that were sort of frolicking about in the partially digested contents. Did you see that one vulture just got defecated on by another? That is unfortunate. That's why we don't park underneath that tree. Oh, Craig, where's the slow-mo for that? That would have been great to see. And you should have seen the vulture as well. It looks upset. Very upset that it had been defecated on. Now, something that I've still not seen that I keep wishing upon, some of you may remember, is that I've seen vultures feasting on things many times. I have yet to see vultures go and bath. I really, really want to see them do that. And we're right near Twin Dam, so maybe we're going to get lucky. Perhaps in the days to follow, I'll have my wish come true of seeing vultures clean themselves after scavenging, especially that they're going inside the cavity of the elephant now, inside that stomach, and between the rib cage. They are going to become putrid, full of feces, full of blood. They're going to need to give themselves a bit of a clean. So that's something to potentially look forward to over the next few days. Oh. Now, this I don't know the answer to, but you can all help me. Becca, maybe you can even assist. Oh, goodness gracious, look at him go. Look at him fight. I don't actually know, Becca, how many liters of blood is in one elephant. That would require, I think I've got a book here, but I don't think it's going to tell me, unfortunately. I've got my big mammals book, but I don't know if it'll tell me about how much blood an elephant has. Sort of more animal behavioral behavioral book. Here's my words today. So no, that's not going to have this information in here. It doesn't have, sadly, those really cool facts. But we can ask the interweb. I'm sure somebody has drained an elephant for their studies. You can definitely find out. I'll even search it. Should we have a little listen again to the vultures? Aha! I found a site that says 245 liters of blood is the amount that an African elephant has. Very cool. No, you see, now I found another one that says something different. That says 450 liters. Did I say that first, Craig? 200. Now I'm getting varying answers here from different sites. We'll have to have a look. Like I said, looking on my phone is a nightmare because I can't actually see if it's a trusted source. On my computer, it's much easier, so we'll have a look. But I would imagine it'd be a couple of 100 liters for an animal of that size. Listen to the sounds. Wow, that is incredible. How are those noises? Here's something I didn't know, and I'm not sure if our vultures do this, but apparently the turkey vultures, according to Carmen, will projectile vomit when threatened. Now, I haven't seen it with any of the vultures in South Africa, and I've spent a fair amount of time with them. You know, they fight with one another, they use their beaks to peck each other, they use their feet to sort of kick one another, and I'm pretty sure their wings act as weapons too. Big swat in the face by, over 2 meter wingspan would definitely be a bit on the painful side, or just shy of 2 meters. So, no, Carmen, I'm not really sure if vultures in South Africa do that. I've never seen that. Maybe we can ask Brent and Tristan, though. Perhaps they've seen something different. Definitely haven't. I've never noticed that before, and I think that'd be a very sort of easy thing to spot. Yes, you're just having the best time in there. Right, speaking of Tristan, let's go ask him if he's ever seen a vulture projectile vomit in South Africa.
I've not seen a vulture projectile from its mouth, but I've seen one from its backside, and I've actually seen it land on someone's head. It was quite entertaining, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed it, every minute of it. We had a situation where a guy parked under a tree, and a whole bunch of vultures were in the tree, and they were busy watching, funny enough, the old Nkuhuma young male, so not Junior, the one before that, and he was feeding off a giraffe. He managed to bring down a giraffe on his own, and there was a big dead tree, and all vultures were sitting in the tree watching what was going on. And I had kind of gone in towards there, and my tracker said to me, no, we're not parking anywhere near that tree. And even though the best view was near that tree, I agreed with him very quickly when I saw how many vultures were in it. And so we parked opposite that, and our view wasn't great, but it was a lion on a giraffe kill, and so it was all good. And the lion was up and down and moving quite a bit, so it was okay. And anyway, another guy came in, and he kind of drove towards this dead tree, and he said, my tracker said to his tracker, and I said to him, don't park there, the vultures have been defecating and whatever. And he said, no, I'll be fine, I'm not going to be here that long. Anyway, no sooner had the words kind of left his mouth that this vulture just lifted its tail and projectiled its dung, poo, whatever you want to call it, straight out. And it literally hit the guy square on the side of the head like this, all down his ear, down his shirt, all over his arm. And the look on his face was just absolutely priceless. And I know I shouldn't laugh at other people's expense, but it was highly entertaining to watch. His guests thought it was very funny as well, because they were also a little concerned. You could see they were kind of giving the vultures the one eye as they were driving in, thinking about it. And so the fact that he had been like, no, I'll be fine, and then it actually happened. Karma is a funny thing, actually. I suppose we've all learned our lesson from karma. Taylor actually had a little karma experience this morning. Maybe she can tell you about it a little bit later with Craig. She was giving Craig trouble, and then Karma bit her back as well. And so I think this crew should probably learn that making fun of each other means that at some point something's going to happen to you that everybody else is going to make fun of you at the end of the day. But in terms of vomiting, no vomiting from vultures that I've seen in any way whatsoever. I think it would be quite scary. Imagine a leopard-faced or Cape vulture that weighs, 10, 11 kilograms projectile vomiting at you, a 6-7 day old elephant. No thank you. I would rather not. It would be very, very unpleasant to deal with, I would imagine. I don't think I would want that at all. Davey? No. Davey says no thank you as well. I think it would be pretty disgusting stuff that would come out of that. Imagine that crop after a few days of hot sun where it's been in the crop and, no thank you. I rather not. I think we're perfectly fine having vultures that don't do that at this stage. So, Tim, you say, who couldn't laugh at that? Well, that's also true, I suppose. It was a very funny moment. The guy that got pooed on, he wasn't laughing at all. He thought it was very, very embarrassing, and he was not in a good mood after that. And can you imagine how much it must smell? And how, no, I can't even think about it. Because vulture is it's like a thick white paste. It's almost like glue. It sticks to you, and it went in his ear and everywhere. His whole earpiece was covered in vulture dung. No. That's not. I think it is very funny for us, but if you're the person, I don't think it's very funny at all. I think you probably, maybe it did burn his face. Maybe it had chemical burns from the vulgarness that the vulture had kind of defecated out onto him. Anyway, poor fella. He learns a lesson at least. He'll never kind of do it again. And his tracker, I'll never forget his tracker. His tracker almost fell off the seat. He was laughing so hard at this poor guy because the tracker had also warned him, no, don't park here. And the tracker was also in the firing line, and you could see he was very grumpy about the fact that he was having to sit under this tree because this guy was being a bit pig-headed, as they say, and didn't want to listen to anyone. And then Karma got him, and this tracker thought it was the funniest thing he's ever seen, and he was literally rolling around on the front of that tracker seat, laughing at this poor fella who had vulture business all over the back of his head and side of his head. Lucky he didn't get any in his mouth. That would have been a bit awkward. Anyway, let's think of other things that are slightly better. Now, we slowly kind of come down towards the southern boundary. I'm still going towards Chitwa. I feel like it's a good day for a Chitwa morning. A Chitwa little dam morning. It's starting to warm up, and so maybe some ellies are going to make their way down. We had no luck with those guinea fowls. It's so thick in there that I think maybe, just maybe, whatever it was, slipped off into that drainage, and the chances of us finding it is probably going to be quite slim without any tracks. So I thought we'll leave it for now, and maybe this afternoon we'll get lucky. And Brent is also in that area with Hukamuri and Shadulu's tracks, and so I don't want to kind of get into his way or anything like that and bump the sighting or anything. So, because I have faith that Brent will eventually find those cats. You know how he is. He's like a dog with a bone. As soon as he finds the tracks, he will work them until he's blue in the face to be able to find them. There we go. So apparently he's currently off the vehicle trying to see if he can track down those two leopards. So pretty sure he'll find them, and I just don't want to get in his way or drive over any of his tracks or anything like that. So got to leave a man to work when you're trying to track leopards. It's a thing that you got to get into a zone and then help each other to do it. Good. Right, we are going to meander to Chitwa. We're going to go see what we can find there. Hopefully there's going to be some animals because, well, we haven't seen too much after the lions. And so while we do that, let's go back across to Taylor, who seems to be absolutely loving her morning at the dead elephant.
I am indeed thoroughly enjoying the sighting, especially this hyena that's just spending most of its morning in the cavity of that elephant. Very nervous, though, you can see, being tucked in between the ribs and all that flesh and fat. I bet you won't be able to hear very well in there. Oh my goodness, Vulture's not even waiting before that hyena has gone out. Going around, just having a little look about, making sure no one else is trying to sneak up on them. Vultures don't seem too concerned. They can be a little bit more on the relaxed side as they've got wings and can just fly themselves up into trees. you ever heard such bizarre noises in your entire life? Now, they've still got a lot of flesh to sort of get through before they can get anywhere near the brain. I think the vultures are trying their best, though. Perhaps working the way through inside out. Now, Ramsey, I don't know who's going to be the first one to eat the brain. They'll get there sort of eventually, but I don't think that that's going to happen today, or I don't think it's even going to happen tomorrow. In fact, I mean, it could be the hyenas, it could be the vultures using their long necks to go through the various cavities within the skull. It could be a number of them, maybe even a jackal, but at the moment, they're not going to be able to penetrate it. That will sort of be one of the later things that they're going to feed on once most of the carcass has been devoured and they start moving around onto the legs, onto the neck. I'm just wondering, the wind doesn't change direction. I mean, we can't smell anything at the moment. Dare I say this? It's very pleasant. Hey, Craig, in terms of the smell? It smells like normal air at the moment, which just smells like the bush. I've wrapped my scarf around, which smells like my perfume. That's quite nice. I'm smelling that every now and then. Oh, that's a good way to describe the sound that the vultures make. Chris Steve said that it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. I can't stand that sound, nails on a chalkboard. This one actually doesn't bother me too much, but I suppose everybody's different. So for whoever of you out there can't stand the sound of vultures, does it give you the heebie-jeebies? Hashtag Safari Live, let us know. Hello. Have you had enough to eat yet? There's actually, I thought there would have been a whole lot more vultures here, in fact. I mean, there's probably only about 50 or 60 of them. I thought there would have been a lot more. Perhaps, like Brent was saying yesterday, maybe there's different sittings, different times. You know, you can come in for breakfast at this time, and then the next service will be lunch at 1 o'clock, and then by 7:30 they start serving dinner, although it's a bit late, so vultures might have an earlier dinner. And how cool was it that Brent saw that one vulture feeding quite late into the evening? Very unusual. Very unusual. I suppose, though, if everything's safe, if there's an opportunity, why not take it? There's no rule that says that they can't eat at night. It's just because that there are a lot of other predators around, and they aren't able to navigate their surroundings as well as night as they are during the day. Hi, Shez, my friend Cheryl. Thank you for all your questions. I do enjoy them. Now, we're looking around here, and as we sit here, there are lots and lots of flies. But, Cheryl, you specifically asked about maggots. Wouldn't there be maggots in this carcass already? I haven't seen any just yet. Maybe not yet. Maybe by tomorrow, the next day, we should start to see some. But everybody's doing a pretty good job. The flies would have come in and laid their eggs already. But I can't see anything just yet. Give it a couple of days, though, and we'll get there. There'll definitely be some maggots involved in this. It's always really gross. And then we might get things like franklins coming around as well. And they like to feast upon those wriggly worms. Vultures, not so much. They probably prefer to have the flesh. Ooh. Obviously Tristan has said this to you, Jessica, about how karma got me hard this morning. Well, I was teasing Craig. What was I saying to you, Craig? I don't even remember what I was being nasty. And I actually cannot remember what I even said to him. And as I was reversing out of the car park, it's something that Tristan can't even talk, because apparently he did it. Hey, Craig, he did it the other day, didn't he? The same thing. Not as bad. Oh, you're such a drama queen. It wasn't even that bad. There's not even a scratch. So basically in the front of the car, we've got these big bars. And basically they stick out to the side quite a bit. And as I was reversing out of the car park, I swung a little bit too early because I was busy sassing Craig and Tristan. I think I was trying to sass everybody in the car park this morning, so I banged the one pole. Little bit. But it's dramatic, the sound that it makes, because we've got a corrugated iron roof, so you can imagine. And then I started laughing. You can also see me in my scarf now. Hello, everybody. Hiding away from the flies. Take it off. Craig caught me off guard there. Carl's going to get you back. So yeah, so then that's basically sassing, and then I hit the car on the garage. Not bad though, just like the little metal piece. There's no scratch. I didn't pull the entire garage down, unfortunately. That would have been better if I'd done that. Just trying to think where all these hyenas gone. I'm trying to look down towards Twin Downs because it'd be quite cool if we could actually go and see them sitting in the water. We might take a little drive around at some point. I'm just thinking. Yeah, I can sort of see the water. I can see the water, but I can't see any hyenas in it. There's one hyena. No, I'm not surprised about that, Nikki. Oh. Hello, hyena. So there we go. No, you don't want to check out the water with me, Nikki, because you will crash cut away from me. So best we not be doing that. There you go, another hyena going on in. Get out, vultures. This is mine. Quite crazy, hey? Only whiteback vultures here, the hoodeds. I don't even know where they are. They haven't really come down to feast unless they're feeding on the other side of the carcass away from the pandemonium that these whiteback vultures are creating. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see more vultures coming through over the next few days. It's definitely going to attract a variety of species and a chance for us, like Brent was saying, to perhaps add some new vulture species to your lists. I think one just sneezed. Very cool. Well, I think we'll take a quick drive around to see if we can find some hyenas in the water, or see where they've actually gone, where the rest of the clan has run off to. I'm going to send you to Brent in the meantime, who's been hard at work tracking 2 leopards.
We're still looking for Hokamuri. There's no sign of any tracks coming out of this block, and we've checked very, very carefully. Unfortunately, the grass is very long here. So we've just been stopping and listening, trying to see if we can hear any form of alarm call, whether it be birds or impala, kudu, inyala, anything. Any slight hint. I think he's gone to sleep somewhere in here, and it is really, really thick, and the grass is really, really long. So an update on Shidulu. So this might be another female. It's not Shidulu. Shidulu has been... There's a beetle on the bonnet. Shidulu has been found in Arathusa with a kill. So these tracks are really, really fresh. I'm wondering who it could be. Now, there are some unknown leopards in the north that are quite skittish. That is a helicopter. So not what I'm listening for. And also makes listening a little bit difficult. So let's keep moving. And so unfortunately last time we had a few gremlins, and I'd started answering Katie's question about survival rates between leopard and lion cubs. So for the first year, the survival rates between leopard and lion cubs are about the same. There's about a 70% mortality, well 65 to 70% mortality. That can differ from area to area, though once leopard cubs get to a year old, that mortality rate drops massively and down to about a 15 or 20% mortality rate for the next couple of years. Now, when male leopards get to about 3.5 years old, those mortality rates then increase again to about 50 or 60%. Now, that of course is when the young males have now been forced out of their natal area, and they are trying to establish themselves in a different territory, so they're battling with other males. And then male leopard mortality rates drop down again once they've established themselves to very, very low, 5%, whatnot, till they reach about 12 or 13, and then again, as they're old, that mortality rate jumps up again. With lions, at about a year old, the mortality rate does drop off slightly. But that's because they're mostly with the pride then, even on hunts and stuff like that. They're following around with the adult females. But it still stays a lot higher than a leopard of the same age. And that will female lions or lionesses will maintain that relatively high mortality rate till their first estrus, around sometimes as young as 3, normally closer to 4. And that's when, if there are any new males coming into an area, they are not going to try kill that lioness. They would rather try and mate with her. However, again, young males, that mortality rate stays quite high until they are 5 or 6 years old and established in their own territory. And then that mortality rate drops off till they're about 11, 12 years old, and again then the mortality rate rises. So it's constantly fluctuating. Female leopards have a relatively low mortality rate after they get to a year old, and that drops again when they get to sort of 4 years old, 3 years old, once they're established in their territory. Now, the reason that female leopards have such a low mortality rate and compared to the other cats around that age is because of the nature of how their mothers will try siphon off or give them a portion of their core territory when they're young, and that gives them a much easier start in life. Now, with Karula disappearing, Shongile did not get that opportunity, so that's probably why she's disappeared. There's a strong likelihood, far more than average, that she has died. Now, I'm very sad about that. She was definitely my favorite little female, but because Karula left, she didn't have that protection of her mother in the beginning of setting up her territory, and what caused her to come into conflict with Tundi, and who knows which other leopards. So very sad, but that is the nature of the game out here. Vim and I were just talking about it since we've been here, so just over 3 years. We've had quite a high turnover of adult male dominant leopards, and which is quite interesting. Normally, you will have a much more stable period. Now, if you look at Mvula, before we arrived, Mvula was around for ages, and he was quite old when we got here, and so Mvula was around for ages. Then Anderson came in, threw a spanner in the works, pushed Tingana to the north, and so Tingana was quite old already when he came up into this area. And now the Hukumuris arrived, and Anderson's still that side. And so what's happened is that we've had quite a high turnover in 3 years. We're on our 3rd male leopard, which is unusual. So if I give you an example, where I used to work in the southern Sabi Sands, in terms of male leopards, Campman was dominant for many years. And around the Sand River and up to the north into the Manuleti River, all along that area, and then to the south around the Sand River and I can't remember the name of that river system. It doesn't matter. It's a similar river system to the Mawati, just a bit bigger. There was what we used to call the shorty, or the short-tailed male, and in Malamala they called him the bicycle crossing male. So he was also around for an extremely long time, 5-6 years in the same area. So I think it's been quite interesting and unusual, the high male leopard turnover we've had on Djuma over the last 3 years. And it is high, because normally once those males are set, They will stay in an area for 4 or 5 years without moving, and then their territory will swing, but they won't be forced out. They'll move to avoid mating with their daughters, but they won't move far. So it is quite interesting that we've had a very high male turnover. And with that high male turnover, we've had quite a lot of leopard mortalities over that time. If we think about it, I was just trying to remember all the mortalities over the last while. Of course, Karula, possibly Shongile. What's her name? Tristan's old favorite. Do you remember? Salaheshe. There's a very strong possibility Shadow has joined that list, trying to defend the cub. No one has seen Shadow now for a month.